Hey guys, what is going on? It is Ando, and we are back with our weekly series of how we're basically just looking at our account and doing account review. And this was a series that Dylar started, and I just asked him 1 week if I could just kind of make my own. And now that he's gone, I am just kind of continuing on with this to kind of honor him, really. Still running the same Lord Vader team, getting number one if I climb or if I have to share the payout. So I usually average like around 450 to 500 crystals. But as we'll go into this week, where that is going to end, if you haven't heard. And in Fleet Arena, I still take first place and I drop to like fifth. Um, Actually, recently I've been dropping all the way down to ninth, even. So people are figuring out the executor, which is very common for metas, right? People figure these things out. But yeah, basically, there's been no change to these metas. Now, Fleet Arena will be sticking around beyond this because Grand Arena is only really taking away the crystals from Squad Arena. But again, we'll kind of get into that. That should be happening this week when we kind of do our next week or this upcoming week schedule or segment, I guess, if you will. GAC is not going on. It's been a really rough patch of few weeks, really, of kind of nothing. But looking forward to the return of GAC. I'm still in Alpha Squad. We recently had a few people leave, so if you guys are interested in Alpha Squad, make sure you guys hit up some of the officers there. I can get you guys in contact there. But I think we do have people coming in. So last week we did Dark Side TB. It's very easy for us to get 33 stars there, which is awesome because you get the 900 crystals. That was definitely something that I received that is going to increase that crystal count, which I actually did use quite a bit this week. So let's go ahead and talk about what we did this last week as far as our roster goes. And I'm going to go ahead and move myself down here very, very smoothly there. Okay, so I did a lot of relic stuff, and I also did some mod stuff as well. But basically, once that Q&A came out, guys, if you guys missed it, the Q&A came out, and they answered a lot of questions. A lot of the stuff that we kind of already either guessed or they had kind of let slip out, but we just really wanted clarification. And when they did that, basically they said like, hey, other than the first week, your GP doesn't account for really any matchmaking whatsoever. So the old, way of saying like, oh, just bring up a good character to Relic 0. Like if you're doing GL farms, like a very common tip that even I used to give to people was, hey, just bring up guys to gear 13. That way you're good with the gear. Then you can use one of the awesome websites that are around and figure out, hey, how many relic or signal datas are you short, how many bronzium wirings are you short, and all these things, and you could just sort of build up your roster without really increasing your matchmaking GP. That's all gone. So although this is still Galaxy of Heroes and it's a resource management game, really you need to look at, hey, who's going to really be good. And I made a GAC relics video. If you guys haven't checked that out, I list out some candidates that if you're kind of struggling, like, hey, who should I bring up? I have some pretty decent candidates, at least I thought. And so this week I brought Dark Trooper up from 5 to 7. The reason why, most times he does enough damage even at 5 to get through. But if you're using him for DR, the guy, if their opponent has a relic Sith Empire Trooper and it's pretty thick, it's well modded, it can cause a problem. We also got Darth Talon last week. She can kind of cause a problem because she's going to revive and stuff like that, kind of do a savior. And so, yeah, just the more damage, though, better. You really open up his, his counters once you start getting into those big damage numbers for him. So he's a guy that I took from 5 to 7. Stormtrooper and Short Trooper are the same boat. I plan to use them in the GAC. And the team that I really plan on using them with is Lord Vader. Lord Vader, I've told you this before, he loves his teammates to have relics, higher the better. And because he's taking mastery from them, or he's taking, I guess, their mastery from them, even though if they're Empire or unaligned Force user, he doesn't actually steal it per se. He's just taking that number and he's adding it to his own. And so he really, really likes when guys are higher relics. So I've took them up a few relic levels again, just bumps up his mastery a little bit higher, ramps up his damage a little bit more. I took Bisson and SRP up to 3, relic level 3. They were at 1 before. Again, as we kind of reshift back into GAC and as people are going to take GAC more seriously, I need to make sure that my Rebel fleet is kind of up to par. Whether that's a cleanup, whether that's, an actual one-on-one match. Very rarely do I ever set them on defense, but, the case always remains, hey, give them a little bit of extra speed, give them some survivability, some extra damage. Never hurts when you're talking about, the Bisson's Ewing. So one thing that I didn't get to this week was Hoth Rebel Scout. He can be upgraded. I did add some gear onto POW. This was really, I talked to you guys about this. I really, really, really liked Kyle Katarn. And I still do. But what I'm noticing, right, we are 3 out of the 4, and we know the 4th one is Mara Jade. But all 3 of the new characters, whether that's Dash, Kyle Katarn, or Darth Talon, they are very, very good. They do not believe any hype that they're not good. These characters are very, very good. They are characters that I think you can do low star viability. They honestly, they just are just really, really good. And I expect Mara Jade to be the exact same. So I'm excited for her. That's why I'm kind of still holding off a little bit on the gear, right? I could easily get POW up, I think probably to gear 12 or gear 13. But I just want to wait, make sure that, whoever's of the 4 characters that really can fit and give me that additional team, that's going to be really who I focus on. And then I'll probably go down the list from there. But right now, Kakatarn still probably taking the, right now it is the Mon Mothma Rebel Fighters. I never had them before other than the JML version, and that did fine for me. But this Kakatarn version looks really, really good. So I'm really excited to finally get that. I'm closing in on my Omega farm. We're 93 out of 100. Looks like we have the gear for her. We'll definitely be taking her to probably like Relic 3 at a minimum. Fennec Sean became farmable last week. That's another big piece of the bounty hunters that I really, really like. I really, really want to get her, up to star levels as fast as possible so I can give her relics. Because she's just very, very viable with the current bounty hunters that we have. Sith Assassin, again, this is sort of like my passion project, if you will. But what I will say is it's kind of waiting on Mara Jade, right? There's been rumors that Mara Jade, is gonna be the dark side version of her. And if we're gonna talk about the dark side version, I think, there's a guy named Emperor Palpatine. He's a legendary character, but right now, depending on how you're running your team splits, his team really gets kind of torn up. He kind of gets thrown away, and it's a shame because he's Relic 7. Between him and Padme, again, depending on what your Galactic Legend situation is, depending on what, your team comps are, depending on what Omicrons you've put on. Padme and Emperor Palpatine are the guys that seem like they have just tons of relic. They're good leads. They made solid teams, but unfortunately, there just doesn't seem to be a spot for them right now. And I would love for Mara Jade to come in and sort of just be able to throw into that team. And you never know too. Like Omicron, Darth Sidious. Omicron Sid, as we used to refer to him, or Sid, as we used to call him. he might be a key to unlocking Palpatine again as well. You know, he has some debuffs on him. You know, it just depends on what that Omicron ability is. So that's why I'm still kind of hoarding gear. The relic situation, I've really kind of let loose on because of the Q&A, right? Again, because now it's going to come down to, hey, how are your mods and how many relic levels do you have? That's going to help. Relic levels are going to help you win fights. That is for sure. Yeah, you know, it's going to be a fine balance for me. I don't know how it's going to look like, but right now, I definitely went into a little bit of a spend mode. I do think that by next week, and I guess this is kind of going into the next week segment, but I do think that I'm going to probably, for GAC purposes, add R9 to Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. He seems like the one that is going to fulfill my GAC plans the best, just because he offers so much flexibility in what he can do. So it just seems like that's potentially where I'm going with R9. I have enough for two R9s, but the salvage is where I'm hurting, so I could do one quite easily. Speaking of next week, we're gonna get Conquest coming up, so be on the lookout for that. Currently 130 out of 330 shards for Boba Fett, Scion of Django. And so, you know, this is going to be the second month of this Conquest, which means that obviously we'll make really good headway this month, but it's going to be in January's Conquest where we finally get to unlock him. So I guess that kind of covers what we did last week and kind of a little bit of what to look forward to this week. So again, we'll kind of recap this week. Conquest is coming out, and this will be the change that happens between Squad Arena. Now, Squad Arena is how we get crystals. So what's going to end up happening, at least the way that I understand it right now, is that your GP is going to determine where you are division-wise or league-wise. Depending on what league and division you are is going to be the daily amount of crystals that we get until the start date of GAC. And then once GAC starts, whether you win, you lose, if you go 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, or 0-3, and whether or not you start dropping or rising into the divisions and leagues. Well, actually, league is only at the very end of the season, so really it's just the divisions. That is all going to determine how many crystals that you're given a day. So be on the lookout for that, guys. And if we're not actively in a GAC, just know that there is going to be some drop off in crystals. Doesn't really matter where you are. Doesn't matter if you're Kyber 1. It's going to be a drop off in crystals. Now, if you weren't getting crystals beforehand, like if you weren't getting top 5, you might actually notice that this is an increase in crystals per day. But for the most part, if you were climbing to the top 5, this probably is going to be a drop in crystals. So the only reason why I'm saying that isn't to say that like you should be really upset or anything. Just know that the farming plans that you have might require crystals that you aren't going to be getting every single day like you were before. All right, so we covered the new Squad Arena GAC. We covered Conquest coming in. We should be getting a kit reveal on Tuesday, I would assume, and then kind of the game updating on Wednesday, and then Mara Jade being in the game on Thursday. Again, we're just gonna assume that's Mara Jade unless we just got trolled super hard. We know that she was kind of leaked, and we've got the 3 other ones for Starkiller, and so yeah, she's kind of going to be the last one. Again, it's going to be interesting to see who she is, because she's kind of like Bastila Shan. She had a dark side kind of arc, she had a light side arc, so yeah, we could see who it is. But just by the way of both Dash and Kyle were light side, a lot of people are assuming, you know, Darth, Talon, and Mara Jade will be the dark side versions of the marquees that we get. Speaking of Starkiller, that event starts the 15th, so it's not necessarily next week, but it is also going to be happening soon. I think that about covers it for what's ending up going to happen next week. Again, probably going to R9 someone, probably continue to work on some of the relics that I want, and some of these other teams that should, be finishing up Omega, and that'll be nice because then that'll free up some of that ship energy so I can farm up some more Gear 12 plus pieces so we can really replenish what we use up from the JML R9. That about covers that part. To kind of go over in-game economy, what's happened, I have 23,700 crystals. I think that's probably a pretty significant increase because we had the TB, which again gives us close to 9,000 or 900. Wow, I'd love if it gave us 9,000. And I did buy the Talon pack, so that was 20. And then I bought the two 6D through 6A packs, which I believe are $14.99 each. So that was kind of my IRL spending, if you will. For those that don't know, I don't really like. It's not that I don't like spending. I just don't do it often. I try to stay under 20 a month. This past few months have been different because I normally do buy the marquee packs, which are usually 20. So anytime there's a character, that's usually like my one purchase. Every once in a while, though, I will go above that. It just kind of like just so you guys know where I'm kind of at, like spending. And again, I just kind of usually reallocate what I make through streaming. People want to see certain things, so I try to reinvest as much as possible. So thank you to those people that are so kind and able to do so. So I think that's pretty much it as far as like crystal stuff goes. I've been doing 3 refreshes. Nothing's changed with Cantina. I've only been doing like 1 or 2 refreshes until recently. Once Fennec dropped into light side nodes, then I was farming Fennec. And I'm doing the 25 refresh and the 50 refresh. So basically I'm getting 15 attempts per day. If I remember right, the math works around like you unlock that character at around 2 months. So hopefully have her, within, kind of maybe early next year. It's kind of depressing to say it like that, but and then I was doing a 25 crystal refresh on Omega. So my ship shard or my ship energy, I haven't been doing any refresh. I have been focusing a little bit more on mods. For a while I focused on mods, then it felt good, so I kind of pulled back some crystals from there. Always kind of doing at least 1 to 2 refreshes, if not the 350s, but just to kind of dependent on where I was at. Like if I was GL farming, spending a lot of crystals on energy, potentially bring back 1 or 2 of those from the mod refreshes, and kind of just so that way I stay at that same kind of expenditure per day. But lately I have been focusing more on mods, just wanting to really 6E things. This break from GAC has taught me one thing, that those wins that come from GAC definitely help you in getting more 6E mods. Just those increases in the primaries are enough to make sure that, like, hey, you're raising up your offense, or you're raising up your protection, or you're raising up your health, and the character is better now because of it. So I feel like I've fallen behind a little bit on the 6E stuff. Definitely feel like I've fallen behind also on the speed stuff, because for a while I was doing a bunch of slices that weren't necessarily trying to get me more, plus 25s or plus 20s. It was really like, hey, let's try to see if we can get, a 6% or higher offense secondary, or whatever the case was. So there were some kind of going away from the speed, and I'm kind of right back now. I'm like looking for more speed because we have a lot of characters now that are really wanting a lot of speed. So that's where I'm at with that mod farm. Nothing really changed with the shipments. I buy all these right here. In fact, we'll just do it. We'll just play it right now because I'll probably forget if I don't. So I buy these. I have been buying the Omicrons. I'm up to 39 now. The big ones for me is actually we're going to have a video coming out soon. So make sure you guys are subbed to the channel and and watch that one, because I think it's gonna be fun, and I hope I can continue it and make that a series as well. The only thing I really buy from this is the shipbuilding materials. You can tell because I've got 81,000 of this currency. So sometimes if I'm running low on shard currency, I will buy the rest of this. The other thing that I'm buying here is obviously the things to take up to 6E mods. And then again, I will scroll through usually if there's something that I'm really short on, even if it's just stuff like this, stuff that helps the salvage for relics, then I'll go for it. I told you I was working on mods. You know, I think I've probably dropped 30 or 40 mil credits just from the overall. Like that's not like how much I've actually spent. Just that's like the steady state of where I was at. Because like I said, I've been going pretty hard on mods. And yeah, I usually go through here, check mods out. I won't do it now, just so that way I won't bore you. Always buy my Zeta here, just because, hey, you never know. Some of these guys come out with a lot of Zetas. These are the 1 gear pieces I feel like I'm really short on. The Kyrotech shock prods. Everything else, you know, still have over 100k. Again, just try to stay above 150. That's kind of like my goal. Like if I stay above 150, basically it feels like pretty much anyone can be geared, even if they're taking 3 of these things. Obviously you don't want that to happen, but yeah, that's just sort of like how I think of things. Hey, stay above 350. This is where I've actually noticed like my currency is going really too quick here. So I'm just buying it with Kairos for this again, because that's the one big piece that I'm constantly missing. And then here again, just kind of depends on where we're at. I'll buy a few things, but a lot of times I will save this as well, because we got to have, I think, over 9,000, close to 10,000, right, for the 2 Omicrons. So yeah, that's kind of the cover of our, you know, of our economy, and how we've been spending things. Again, I really haven't been using much energy until as of late, because there was nothing to farm for me personally. But now that Fennec's out there, I have been refreshing a little bit. But yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I think that we covered everything. I think these are going a little bit smoother than before too. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and watching these videos. If you guys have any suggestions, please, I will absolutely try to incorporate whatever you guys want to see. And with all that said, guys, thanks for watching the video. Like and subscribe if you guys think that it's worth it, and we'll see you guys in the next one.